The body under the bed. Checking into a hotel room and immediately throwing yourself onto a bouncy bed is one of those little joys in life. However, the moment would be ruined if a disgusting smell suddenly starts filling up the room. Now, you'd probably be thinking, did someone leave a stinky cheese sandwich here? But the reality is a lot worse, as you end up discovering a decomposing corpse under the bed. In 1996, something similar happened. Motel guests in Pasadena, California had complained for several days about a foul smell coming from a room. When the hotel staff looked under the mattress, they discovered a woman's body that had been killed 10 days earlier, making it the worst case of a late checkout. And even as recently as 2016 in Thailand, 2 teenage boys were arrested on charges of murdering a trans woman in a hotel room and hiding the body inside a bed frame. The police arrived after a maid noticed blood leaking from underneath the bed, accompanied by a stomach-churning stench. While the body under the bed is a rare occurrence, it does still happen, so it might not be a bad idea to take a quick peek under the bed next time you check into a hotel room. The deadly Halloween candy. The magic of Halloween is that there are no awkward family dinners, no pressure to buy the perfect gift. All you gotta do is dress up in a silly costume and go door to door collecting candy. It's a sweet deal, yet every October, you'll find the local news filled with warnings about how there are sadistic people out there trying to hurt trick-or-treaters by handing out tainted candy. The most horrifying case of this happening comes from 1974, when a Texas man named Ronald O'Brien gave out pixie sticks laced with cyanide to 5 kids, including his own son, who tragically ate the candy and died. Because of this, O'Brien was convicted of murder and earned the nicknames the Candyman and the man who killed Halloween. Almost 10 years later, O'Brien was executed by lethal injection. Oh, how the turntables. But before you start some sort of celery sticks for Halloween movement, let's put things into perspective. Cases like this are extremely rare, as there have only been about 200 confirmed cases of candy tampering in the US and Canada since 1958, and even out of these, most turned out to be hoaxes. Crying boy painting. You're a firefighter called to a burning house. After you put out the fire, you notice that there's an undamaged painting of a crying boy. What's strange is that as more fires break out, you keep finding the same painting completely unscathed. Rumors start to spread, and soon everyone in town believes that all copies of this painting are cursed, and merely having one in your house could ignite a deadly fire. Paranoid, the residents announce a plan to rid the town of the cursed paintings once and for all by gathering as many copies as possible and burning them. A massive bonfire is set up, and one by one, the paintings are thrown into flames, reducing the curse of the crying boy to ashes. That's what happened in Essex in 1985. The thing is, skeptics and scientists look at this whole cursed painting business and said, "Oh my beaker." They rolled up their sleeves and dove into an investigation. Turns out, all these crying boy paintings were coated with a fire retardant varnish. Because of that, the string holding the painting to the wall would be the first thing to burn, causing the painting to land face down on the floor, which protects it even more, making it survive the fire unharmed. The Halloween Hangman. We now know that you don't have to worry about your neighbors poisoning your Halloween candy. With that in mind, you go trick-or-treating with your friends without a care in the world. You arrive at Mr. Thompson's house, who seems to have gone all out with the decorations this year. His yard is a Halloween wonderland, complete with carved pumpkins, cobweb-covered bushes, and even a dummy hanging from a noose on his tree branch. Mr. Thompson is really swinging for the fences this year. As you and your friends knock on his door and ring the bell, there is no answer, which is a bit of a bummer. But you keep waiting, taking the time to admire the decorations. You eventually get closer to the tree and look up at the dummy. That's when a chilling realization slowly dawns on you. This isn't a dummy at all, it's actually Mr. Thompson. Unfortunately, this isn't just a spooky Halloween tale. There are actually quite a few stories of people hanging themselves or even getting murdered around Halloween and being mistaken for decoration. One of them is from October 26, 2005. A 42-year-old woman in Frederica, Delaware committed by hanging herself from a tree, but instead of doing it in her front yard, she chose a tree across a busy road. This left her suspended about 15 feet above the ground, visible to everyone from pedestrians to drivers. The sad thing is that because this happened around Halloween, everyone just thought the body was merely an edgy Halloween prank, probably done by some teenagers. The woman's body was left hanging for several hours until someone finally realized what was really going on and called the police, who arrived and took the body down. The corpse in the carpet. You need a new carpet, but they're just too expensive, and you're trying to save money, so you decide to visit the local dumpsters looking for a discarded carpet to take home. Yes, it's gross, but hey, the economy is tough and you gotta do what you gotta do. Well, this is exactly what happened in 1984 to 3 students at Columbia University. They thought they had hit the jackpot when they found a rolled up carpet in a dumpster, so they decided to take it. They carried the carpet up to their dorm room on the 8th floor, but when they unrolled it, lo and behold, they discovered the corpse of a black man in his 20s or 30s. The students immediately called the police, who conducted an investigation and estimated that the man had been shot in the head a few times earlier that day. Despite the investigation, the case appears to remain unresolved. This leaves us with many questions, like who was that man and who killed him? Also, how the heck do you carry a carpet all the way up to the 8th floor without noticing there's a dead body inside? Frogging. Things aren't where you left them, your food keeps vanishing, and you can't shake off the feeling that someone's watching you. If this started happening to you, you'd probably think, I'm either starting to get dementia or my house is haunted. The truth is, your house is haunted. Just not by a ghost, but by a frogger. While you're fast asleep, the frogger emerges from their hiding spot to raid your fridge before scurrying back in, like some midnight snack ninja. Now, instances of this happening in real life are few and far in between, but it does happen. Take the case of Theodore Edward Coneys. In 1941, Coneys, homeless and penniless in Denver, Colorado, decided to visit an old friend named Philip Peters for a handout. The thing is, Peters wasn't home, so Coneys decided to throw himself a little house party. After breaking into the house, Coneys found a small trapdoor in the ceiling of a closet that led to a small attic and decided to make it his new home. Things took a dark turn around a month later when Peters caught Coneys raiding his refrigerator. A fight broke out, and Coneys ended up beating Peters to death before going back to hiding in the attic. When the police arrived, they noticed the trap door but naively thought, nah, not even a contortionist could fit in there. Peter's widow returned to live in the house, where she kept hearing strange noises, leading the police to stake out the house in July 1942. Once they spotted a man inside, they rushed in and opened the closet door just in time to see a pair of legs disappearing into the attic, allowing them to capture Coneys. Sentenced to life in prison, Coneys eventually died in 1967, having earned the title the Denver Spider-Man, the Hook Man. Let's say things are heating up between a young couple in the backseat of a car with the radio playing. Suddenly, a breaking news broadcast interrupts them, reporting that a serial killer with a hook for a hand has just escaped from a nearby mental hospital. Quite the mood killer. The girl, convinced she's heard something outside, asks her boyfriend to check the surroundings. After a quick look around and finding nothing suspicious, he returns, only to be met with the horror of finding that his girlfriend has already been brutally killed with a hook. Now, while there are several real instances of serial killers targeting young couples, they're not usually so theatrical. They tend to prefer more run-of-the-mill murder weapons like knives or guns. That being said, some writers and journalists have linked the Hookman legend to unsolved murders that happened in Texas in the 1940s. The Texarkana Moonlight Murders, as they're known, consisted of 4 violent attacks which took place over 10 weeks from February to May 1946. And just like the legend, the killer would specifically target couples in isolated locations on weekend nights. So just to be safe, instead of taking your date to the parking lot, take them home to Netflix and chill. At least that way the serial killers would be trapped inside the TV. Le Lion. When you're hiking through the forest, you can expect to see a deer minding its business, or if you're unlucky, a bear that really wishes you weren't invading its privacy. But what if instead you stumbled upon a towering figure about 6'3", dressed in overalls and an old gas mask? That's what happened to a woman in Switzerland around the year 2000. She was just out for a stroll when she bumped into this gas mask creature, picking flowers of all things. When she tried talking to it, the figure got spooked and ran away. This bizarre encounter sparked the legend of Le Lion, or as the locals like to call it, the Ghost of Maule. Once word got out about Le Lion's existence, people began to speculate about its real identity. Some thought it was a mentally ill woman, while others claimed it was a giant man, and a few even thought that it could be someone with a rare skin condition, hence the overalls and mask. Obviously, if this happened today, we'd all think that it was just an overly dedicated cosplayer. Shortly after, Le Lion's overalls and gas mask were found in the Mola Forest, along with a note titled Death Certificate and Testament of the Ghost of Mola. The note was written in a very dark tone and suggested that Le Lion wasn't too pleased about being turned into an internet meme. Since then, there have been no more reported sightings in the Mola Forest, which led some people to believe that Le Leon might have ended its own life. The Cursed Tomb of King Tut. So you're not just any archaeologist, you've got a real knack for dusting off the relics of the past, and you've just been handed the golden ticket. A mission to Egypt to crack open the tomb of one of the most famous pharaohs in ancient history, King Tutankhamun. You gather a team of archaeologists who are so good that they could find a needle in a haystack, let alone a tomb in a desert. Off you go to Egypt, specifically to the Valley of the Kings in Luxor. With trowels in hand and sunscreen on your noses, you start the careful process of excavation. After days of digging and a few sandcastle competitions, you strike gold, the mummy of the Boy King himself. Returning home, you are the toast of the town, basking in the limelight as the one who popped the lid on King Tut's final resting place. But then the phone rings. It's the hospital. One of your colleagues has fallen ill and has been rushed to the ER. You race over, but by the time you get there, they're already gone. Then another call comes in, another colleague down. Before you know it, you're feeling pretty rough yourself. And then, lights out. That's the crux of the curse, getting a royal smackdown for messing with the tomb. The most infamous case of this happening in reality is that of George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon. The man who bankrolled the excavation of King Tut's tomb in 1922 was the first to feel the curse's sting. He accidentally tore open a mosquito bite while shaving and ended up dying of blood poisoning. Then there's George J. Gould. This loaded American financier and railroad executive visited the tomb in 1923 and fell sick almost right away. He never really recovered and died of pneumonia a few months later. Guess he couldn't buy his way out of that one. So next time you're thinking about cracking open a pharaoh's tomb, maybe just stick to cracking open a cold one instead. Or at least make sure you have solid health insurance first.